meeting out with a public hearing pursuant to RSA 41:14-A. The board plans on selling lot 35 at 9 Hook Ave, which is .06 acres in map U1. So I'd like to open a public hearing. Seeing no questions from the public about the public hearing on the sale of town-owned property, does any of the select board have any questions about it?
Sure, what are we selling it for?
Well, that was one question I had. We're gonna have to decide what we want to do. The assessed value is $9,400. So should someone buy that property, that's what they're gonna be assessed at. It's only .06 acres, so less than 1/10 of an acre.
Well, it's only open to abutters, so I don't know that it's gonna add to their valuation that much, Kevin, because I think it gets attached, right?
Correct.
So, and is there any expenses to the town above any hearing notices?
The person would have to pay, as we set up in the policy, they would pay whatever we set for whatever the winning bid is, plus costs for deeding the property. Any attorney costs. The town doesn't pick up any costs when we sell these.
Last time it was more for the auction. If you don't have more than one person interested,
Yeah.
you don't need.
Obviously, we're not going to pay for an auctioneer this time, but we would charge them the cost to deed the property. Whatever that cost is to register it and to, if there's any attorney fees.
So in a situation like this, without using an auctioneer, do they have to offer a price, or we just set a set price?
I think we're going to set a minimum price.
Set a minimum and then see
who's interested.
And that's what we did last year when we did it. We set a minimum price for the purchase of, it was two or three pieces for sale. We had a minimum price. There was a bidding on one of the properties, but not on the other two, if I remember correctly.
Historically, do we have any comparison of something in those areas that, unlike a very small parcel, that's just.
The problem was the last time they actually lots, so they were a little more significant. This is .06 acres. I mean, to be honest, I think
Like $1,000.
I'm thinking 1,000 at the very least.
Set a minimum of $1,000.
It's not gonna affect the buyer's property. I mean, I'd go to at least 2,500, I wouldn't go $1,000, but,
He wants it to put his septic system on.
right, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's why, with a valuation of 9,000, it seems like, the actual market value, because it's, I would say it really only has marketable value to the abutters.
It is.
Correct, and that's why we don't mind selling it. It's whatever you do, guys, I don't know, I'm not familiar with this.
I'd feel comfortable with $1,000 as long as.
Plus any
that-
expenses.
That they're responsible for all the costs associated with deeding, legal fees, anything like that, recording.
Yeah, typically I would agree with you a little more, but it's like it's not even. It's going to be taxed at that assessed value, and it's only that size is what scares me.
I'm not sure that it is, but that's okay. I'm not gonna disagree on that one, because it's just gonna get attached to his land. He's got a lot. So
Yeah.
whatever the lots are down there, that's, you're gonna have .06,
Yep.
you're not changing his valuation.
Yeah,
So
that's,
he's
as
already-
a standalone, I think it's assessed at 9,000.
That's
Yeah,
correct,
One.
that's correct.
That's
It's,
significantly less.
it's not gonna
Yeah, you're right.
adversely affect his valuation, it just,
Yeah,
It's
like
gonna
I was
be-
thinking of the evaluation for the card itself. You add it.
If he puts it together, then it'll be.
it's just one lot down there, no matter what.
9 per cap, right? 9
Yes.
per cap. Well, you just made. We're in the middle of a public hearing. Tom, what are you thinking?
Well, we're talking about setting a minimum bid of $1,000 plus expenses of registering the deed.
Okay.
Okay, just letting you know, and what we've talked about in your absence, because we started right at 6:30.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, no.
No, you didn't miss anything, but.
Yeah, so what we've talked about is setting a minimum price that people would put in that are interested and wanted to. Okay.
So, do I have a motion for that?
Sure, I'll move that we set a minimum price of $1,000 plus any costs incurred to register the property with the registry of deeds or any fees.
Would it be, would it be added to the current property?
And it would be attached to, if you're the successful buyer,
Yes.
it would be added to your property.
Okay.
Yes.
But that deeding and those changes, we want you to take care of.
That's, that, more or less, again, I'm very broad at this, my lawyer would take care of that.
Correct, but you're gonna pay the cost, you're not gonna send us a bill to do that. That's where we're going.
So I got a motion, second. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, the motion is to set the minimum at 1,000 plus any incurred costs.
Before we vote on it, I'm not sure whether we can vote on that in the hearing, or do we have to do it when we go back and do
I think you're right. I think we do gotta get it when we come out of
When we
here.
come out of the hearing,
Yep,
because I don't think we can do motion.
Correct.
It's not board business in the public
Okay.
hearing.
correct.
So,
Good point.
This is just for
So,
discussion.
we'll carry those, but any other comments from the public or while the public hearing is still in effect?
My neighbors all gave me a little cutout from the newspaper showing me, hey, what's going on?
Seeing no other comments, I would like to close the public hearing for selling of map U1 lot 35 at 9 Public Ave.
but there will be a second hearing for RSA on the
Yes.
17th.
Right. So now, we did have a motion that was made by Mr. Alessio and seconded by Chris Bashaw to set a minimum cost of 1,000 plus minimum price of 1,000 and any incurred costs.
Will be borne by the buyer.
So with that, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? It's unanimous. So that takes care of that.
Okay.
So there will be a second hearing on October 17th.
Right, same time. Same.
And then what'll happen after that would be, anyone interested would have to put in a sealed bid to the town on what they wanna, bid for the costs. Bid for the lot.
Does it do that at the next meeting, or?
No, it'll be after. We'll have a second public hearing, and that makes it legal for us to sell it, okay? Then after that, we'll set a deadline then when any things have to be handled, which I would probably say 14 days or
You
something
can't make
like
a
that.
decision before at least 7 days, so the following meeting you can make a decision to sell.
The 21st.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. See you in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you. Okay, wow, look at that, timing is everything. We have an appointment from Jeff Landis McDougal, looking for a reappointment to the museum committee. You wanna have a seat up? We're trying to, invite people in that, rather than just sign a piece of paper and put people in committees, we just would like to, thank you for volunteering for these positions. Get to know a little bit about you and, why you wanna do it, and just so, like I said, we can have a little interaction versus we don't get to meet these people in all these different committees.
Okay, well, I've lived in town for close to 40 years. I was a library trustee for 13 years, starting at the Nichols Building. I was a trustee there for 6 years, at the new building for 7 years. I was on the building committee. I've been on HDC. I was the chairman in 98 and 99 of HDC. I have been involved with the museum for close to 10 years. I probably came on board about 6 to 9 months after it got up and going because I was working. I can't say I'm there every Wednesday. I'm there most Wednesdays. My problem right now is that I'm immune compromised, so I can't spend a lot of time in the museum because they don't have an air purifier.
Do they have the meetings over there, or do they have them somewhere else?
We have almost monthly meetings at the new library, the
Okay.
community library, but in order to volunteer, I do bring things home from museums to sort through them, go through them, but after being there every Wednesday morning, I'm there 90% of the time. And then I'm not there from 9 to 12, I'm probably there like 2 hours, just because of the quality of the air, and then my physician is like, nope, need an air purifier, then you can be in there.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I know it's never been brought to our attention to look at doing an air filtration system in there.
No, just an air purifier. And I asked Rich, somebody else, I don't know who it was, somebody from the museum committee approached Rich, and Rich said, we didn't need one.
Rich said what?
That the museum didn't need,
Field now, gotta stay on task.
he felt that the museum did not need one. I wasn't given any inclination as to why it didn't need one, but because of the age of the building, the windows are not operable to be open, and nor should they be open because you need consistent temperature because of the items in the building,
Yeah.
then it's not getting air circulated, so that's why my doctor at Mass General says no.
Okay.
If there's an
well-
air purifier, then you could be in there a lot.
Well, I don't know if we're happy with that, but my question, seeing you brought it up, would be, do you see a problem with you being on there if that's?
No.
No? Okay.
I'm good. I know she'd do a great job. Thank you for stepping
Susan,
in.
do we have her appointment? I know
Should
it's
be
not.
in your orange folder.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't see
she
it.
already appointed her.
I signed it last week, but I don't know if everyone else did or didn't.
Yeah,
I
it
know
went
I
to the
signed
town
it
clerk
last week.
for you, she's sworn in already.
Right, well, I was told last week that there was something down there, but then I got the email about I needed to come and meet with you, so I felt like I'd meet with you first before I
Yeah, just, again, it's an
go
informal thing.
sign something, and then they said, no, we don't want you, we want somebody else or something, so I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
No,
Just
just-
meet
Never
with them
fear,
first.
Jeff, never fear.
It was just to meet you and like I said, put a face to a name and that.
Right.
So have you already been sworn in for it?
No,
No, she didn't, but it's there. It's
Okay.
there.
Just
So-
see Tammy.
If you go see Tammy, she
Yeah.
should have it down there. If not, check with us and because I
And
didn't sign last
I
week.
live right next door to the museum, so
Okay.
walking over to town hall is a frequent thing, and I don't mind doing that at all. I enjoy the walk, and
No problem. All right, well, thank you for coming and thank you for stepping up to the plate on that.
you're welcome. And I know we're not here to talk about the museum, but I think you ought to know that our museum, like any other museum, if you talk to town of Exeter, you talk to town of Brentwood, any other little town of Warner, they have a fantastic museum there. Attendance is down everywhere
Mm-hmm.
because we're still in a pandemic and people are still apprehensive about visiting museums. So don't expect that we're gonna be doing gangbusters of people flocking into the museum because it's just not happening right now. Until we can get this pandemic sorted out, then I think you'll see an uptick, but not right now.
Again, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda was Kingston Dog Park.
And I told them 7 o'clock, so.
Oh, okay. None of you were here for the dog park? Okay.
We can,
Well, I guess we can go to committee liaison reports. I figured I'd wait for the public comment in case there's something from the dog park. No, I just. No. Committee liaison reports?
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay.
All right, we have the budget committee, again, just October 19th was the first organizational meeting at the fire station, and there was work for those who show up early. We are short a couple of people, so I know it's been put in the paper, but if anybody's interested in the budget committee, let us know. The schedule for the meetings and/or what's required of the town and the state has been posted, but Susan has it. So all the dates are out there, so once she does get it posted,
it's on the website.
if there's any changes on it, or as far as the state meetings go, last year, they make a 500 change. So we'll see, and I will ask, yes, I know it's starting to come in, but all department heads and or committee chairman and all those they've been requested to get their budgets in. I think she gave them till October 12th, but especially on the smaller ones, and the sooner the better that you get it in. So on that, the fire building committee, I guess most everybody knows at this point in time that the generator is installed, being being wired up, being tested, I understand, on Friday. And after that, once that's been tested and inspected, then in actuality, the building gets, I guess, formally turned over from Bowland to the town. That's the one thing at this point, because of the sprinkler systems and stuff that's holding up that project. SMP will, they're all guaranteed, but SMP will be off of the responsibilities. The grand opening ceremony, we're hoping to have Saturday, the 22nd of October. No time has been set yet, probably sometime in the morning, and I know the letters have been starting to get in the process of the invitees of the people. And we're assuming that the plaque will be ready by then. That's kind of dictating the date. It's been ordered and all that, but we're still waiting to be sure. So that was that. Phil was here, but we did get an update on the TV. The reason that the TV was so expensive, and we had questioned it at our last meeting, was that it's a particular TV. I guess that's, I don't know if it's round or curved, but it can be seen from the sides. And the issue with the conference room is that there are not enough, they're concerned about enough seats to be able to look directly onto the TV to be able to see it. So this particular TV allows people to sit on the sides of it to be able to see it, which is what it's made the cost increase. We thought it was kind of the Bluetooth part of it, to be able to tie in with computers and stuff, but it isn't. So I'm sure the request will go back on the list. The other item is the, I don't know what we're already looking at, or starting to build a carport for the cruises behind the police station. 8 bays. From what I gather, a lot of the work is being done by volunteers. Material, labor, highway department, even homes, et cetera, the concrete, and what I've been told is being volunteers donated, because I don't think there's any money anywhere for it at this point in time. So everything is just moving along with that. I think they want to have at least one bay with a garage door in case they have a common car that has parked up. Because they want to be able to convert the garage area into offices or conference rooms.
Training center.
Training center, yeah. So, that was it, I think, for me, right? The other thing with the highway department, the back road is done.
Fixed as far as the question
The work on the back road has been completed as part of the plan. We all materials removed, the repairs and the property owner used the back road to spread and pay for the project. So, I'm sure Phil is acceptable of it.
Can you hear us back there, Phil? Can you hear us back there? Not at all. None of us?
When I thought I was talking loud this time. You didn't hear me, all that stuff, you didn't hear me?
Just assume you're doing good work up there, Chuck.
Thank you very much.
Because we got part of the new microphones in, I'm just curious to see how that was working back there.
I was telling you about back road the last time, yeah.
Like 20% of it.
And you're happy with what's been done there, right?
Continue discussion, it's getting to in front of
All right.
unless you
Well,
don't.
you've got other things later on, so. Why don't you, the back road project is done to your satisfaction? That was the question.
Some of the damage was done by one individual out there trying to fix the road, and that individual utilized his equipment and paid for the material, and the highway department trucked it in because we had a specialized truck that could get out that far. So even though we did have the board's authority for an emergency repair out there, the only involvement we had was trucking. So it is much better than it was. There's a utility that runs through there, an electric line that is now accessible. If there's any incidents in the town forest or any logging in the future, the road is still usable now, so, before the rain came.
Thanks, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, so the planning board, at our last meeting, they were discussing some zoning proposals that will obviously affect the town. Selectmen, I think some of them probably came from the select board as some stuff to talk on. Permitted uses definitions, statements within them, different zonings. There was a discussion about the historic district one permitted uses paragraph. I think that's gonna be another topic we're going about. I don't know if the board is gonna be willing to take that up this session, because the concern is that there are two projects pending or that have essentially been given, told that they can purchase property to go ahead with something that is gonna be an allowed apartment, and then trying to change it midstream could open up the town a tremendous liability. So I don't know if the planning board is willing to put that as a proposed zoning amendment, for this session.
I would hope they would hold off because there are two major projects that need to.
Correct, and we were just looking
They're
at.
already in progress.
It could look as a way that the town can be essentially trying to, I don't know, backdoor a project that's already been given.
No, that's not good.
Assented to on some levels. Another one they're looking at swimming pool ordinance, and then there, there's some language in there that's just very outdated. And then they're looking at putting in a section, cleaning up all the stuff, penalties, administration, severability, because one of the issues that we run into with the enforcement side of things is that there's not very clear language in there. It's made it essentially impossible for the select board to do any enforcement action, even at the request of the planning board. We did bring up feather flags and looking at some language to address the complete prohibition on those and find ways to be more accommodating for businesses with feather flags and, looking at the sign ordinance. The other topic that came up was 266 Route 25. That is still on the table. There's, I guess the big thing holding it up is they're still waiting on the DOT's permit to study there. There've been, one of the things that really came up is one of the DOT recommendations may have been bringing the grade down to 12 feet. Essentially taking out the entire hill from where the courthouse entrance is all the way down to Magnuson, which seemed fairly extreme and obviously would affect the current entrance that's there for the business. So they're still waiting on that, and I think that's the big holdup for them. But our understanding is that the approved site plan is still planning on going forward once they get through with that. But we still have no idea when or where exactly that's going to start.
To go off of that, I don't know how familiar you are, Phil, if you could, did we ever arrange with the planning board where the driveway permit is gonna go? Is that all cleared up, or are we still working on that?
I believe the driveway permit was designated, but I think with some of this stuff with DOT, they were possibly looking at, there were questions they were asking, well, we'd like to just come in and do an amended site plan to the entrance.
No, I'm sorry, not on the 266, for driveway permits for the town. Is that all cleared up now? Is that?
There was a memorandum of understanding signed between myself and the planning board to establish all the
Yes,
expectations.
the answer to your questions, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right.
That's all I have.
All right, I got a conservation commission meeting coming up this next week and an HDC meeting, so I don't have anything else. COVID guidance.
So I'd like to make a motion and open it for discussion if I can. I'd like to make a motion that we follow the CDC guidance on for the workplace COVID exposure, but omitting and not following the CDC's guidance on masking requirements within that.
And I'll second that.
Okay.
So my discussion on that is that the masking thing has just become so controversial, and it's either you're safe to come back to work or you're not safe to come back to work. I can't see if they're following the exposure guidance, whether or not an employee can come back. Okay, you're well enough to come back, but we're going to force you to wear a mask. I personally just can't support anything that's going to do any mandatory masking on any of our employees. So if they follow the stay-out guidelines of the 5 days that they've been exposed, or off of the testing and when they can come back, I just don't see any need to force them to wear a mask. Anyone that wants to wear one is welcome to, but I won't support anything that requires
right, so I guess the current CDC, you can, once you're clear, you're clear. If you want to come back early, they recommend a mask, I thought, but once you.
No, they said you're clear to come back in 5 days, but they want you to wear a mask until day 10. But, and it's just, the whole now, and my personal feeling is that CDC's just gotten so much wrong on this
Yeah,
for the past 3
yeah.
years. I'm willing to concede, hey, yes, you test positive, you should be out for the 5 days, or, and, you know, the periods that they have from the last sign of symptoms. But if it's so dangerous that you can come back to work, you can come back to work.
Yeah.
If you
So
want to wear a mask, you wear a mask, and if you don't, you don't.
and that's why I proposed it with all the guidance, but omit any of the references to their masking guidance. And that, you know, the important thing to remember is it's just guidance.
Yeah.
How does that, the federal supersede the state? The state had regulations and rules, and the CDC had regulations and rules. So if we follow their rules, and the state has something different.
I think the state has now changed. They don't have it. Now they're following CDC.
The state had always kind of had different, and that was the thing is both the state and the feds had always just pushed that, except for certain exemptions with like nursing homes and certain medical facilities. They had just stated, this is guidance, this is how it has to be, and they left it up to, you know, local municipalities. We had some cities around the state that were requiring masking out in public spaces, while some were living their lives.
So we have a motion for following the CDC guidelines, and let me ask this, and update them as the CDC updated, with the exception
With
of
the
any
exception,
mask mandates.
yeah, we're not following the CDC's guidance as it references to masking within.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. So can you update the website for that, Susan?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. And do we have anyone from the dog park? Hello. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
So it's been a while you've been over there. We kind of all forgot about you and forgot how everything was going.
Unless they're neighbors.
Yeah. Thank you. So we figured we'd have you come in and talk about it. So, let me see, I'm just trying to find where I have my section on you. All right. If you could introduce yourself and where you live.
I'm Sandy Ranfone. I live in Newton. I am the director of the Kingston Dog Park currently. And the reason I wanted to come is I've been going there since 2012. It started in 2008, but there's never been anything formally documented. And my concern is, as the folks on the select change and we change,
Yep.
you know, hands and stuff, that there's not anything to reference. So I just wanted to see if you thought we should have a document in place where it absolves you of all responsibility. You know, we raise all the funds, we do all the work in the park, and it's always been understood that Kingston has no responsibility for anything that happens there. But I just thought it would be nice to have something documented.
Correct. We had a couple questions. Are you sure if you want to?
I'm Bob Bennett. I'm from Newton, New Hampshire, and I'm on the board of directors.
Okay. So a couple of questions that we did have is, what is the board? Who sits on the board? You know, how many people are on there? And
We have 7 people who sit on the board. 2 have currently left, so we're looking for new people. He's been on here forever. And we meet quarterly, and we go over any issues that have to happen. We have a chat that we go through, that if there's anything we have to address, you know, immediately, we discuss it, we vote. So we try to be as formal as possible without becoming overbearing.
How many Kingston people are on it? If you have 7 and 2.
We had Marilyn Coombe, who lives in Kingston. She just stepped down as director. I took her place. We have one other person who is in Kingston, and that's Kelly Shaw Cawthron. She's a Kingston resident. We try to make sure we have one.
Sally Cawthorn?
Kelly.
Oh, Kelly.
Kelly Shaw Cawthorn. We try to make sure we have at least one Kingston person on the board, so they, you know, we can say that.
So it's all Newton people on the Kingston Dog Park Board of Directors?
I'm sorry, I have hard hearing.
So it's all Newton people except for 2 on the Board of Directors for
No,
Kingston Dog Park?
one's from Epping. Kingston.
Was Fremont.
Epping, Fremont. So because we represent everybody, it's open to everybody. Kingston residents get a reduced rate and everybody else pays a different rate.
Right. So, if I can ask you, going back to what you said, the whole, when it was set up, it would be there'd be no liability to town of Kingston. It referenced about having an insurance policy. Do you still have an insurance policy?
Yes. We have an
Do you have a copy? Because we haven't had one for a couple of years, a binder to the town.
I didn't bring one with me, but I could get one for you. We just renewed it in July. We renew it every year.
Okay.
We're with down the road here, the Redmond, is it? Insurance agency?
Okay.
But I can get you a copy if you want to send it to Susan.
At the very least,
Who has the agency, I'm sorry? Which agency insures the dog park?
I believe it's the Redmond agency, but I'm not, they're down the road, whatever that is, down at, the oil company, next to the oil company.
And is Kingston held harmless?
Yes, it is.
It states
Right.
that in the policy.
You folks are responsible, as I understood it, if someone turns an ankle, but our insurance should kick in because that's what it covers. But I think you guys are always a secondary thing for that and have been, if I recall the policy correctly. We've had it each year since we're required to have it, you asked us to have it. And I believe that's 2017 on.
So you collect fees from anyone that goes to the park?
Correct. Everyone has to pay a fee, $25 out of town, $20 in town. That's for the year.
And that's how we maintain the park. It's strictly raised through membership fee.
And all volunteers.
You're not audited at all, or are you audited at all?
Which is it?
Audited.
Does someone check your books at all? Does,
We're a nonprofit. We don't even, whatever comes in goes right back into maintenance. We don't make any profit at all. So we don't have official books, so to speak.
well, yeah, but is there a check and balance? That's what I'm looking for. Is there a check and balance on the money you take in and expend? Does,
I don't think,
the answer is no.
we could get back to you on that.
Yeah.
We'll check with our treasurer.
I'm not trying to give you a hard time, I'm trying to understand the exposure to the town of Kingston. That's what I'm concerned about.
Okay, I see, yes.
I mean, I have some concerns about that statement of, you're liable for injuries caused by, I guess, the dogs, but, kind of that reference to twisting an ankle, so if somebody's chasing their dog, or is the town liable for that? With the way your
I would
insurance-
say anything inside the park, no, right?
As I understood it, because it belongs to the town of Kingston, the land, there is a possibility that you could be, sued.
You think?
But we have the primary insurance for that.
Okay.
So it should come out of our coffers, our insurance. But I don't think you could shirk the fact that you own the land,
Right.
and someone could always go after that.
Right, right, totally agree with that.
So far you want a copy of the insurance policy, and you want something about our finances.
The
When we
audit.
take the audit.
If we're audited.
If you do, someone, there's gonna be, I'm assuming out of your board, one person's treasurer.
Correct.
Yes.
Does anyone look at the treasurer's report to make sure that it's accurate? Do you have it at least every 2 years looked at?
Every four times a year at our board meetings, the treasurer gives a report. But no, so we check over all the things that she's talking about, but there's no official audit. of the books.
Do you do a budget every year? I mean, do you know how much money you take in every year?
No, it depends on membership.
But we know how much money is coming in, and we know the expenses going out.
Yeah.
You got your treasurer's report.
Pardon me?
The treasurer's report.
Treasurer's
tells you
report, yeah.
What you got.
But we'll check with the treasurer and see if there's any more to it than that. I don't believe there is.
Well, there was a question, I can't remember how it ended out, but you were looking to spread some wrap down in the parking lot.
Yes,
And was that done? It was. Did you purchase the wrap or?
we did, yeah. I think we paid about $2,200 for it, thereabouts. But we weren't able to, at the time, to do the whole thing. So we're coming back to ask if you folks would okay the use of equipment next spring, next summer, to finish off the parking lot. It's a big help. Once in a while, we used to get stuck in the mud. No one has gotten stuck in the mud since, but both sides need it, and the front, it angles down, and that needs to be thicker. It's getting kind of squishy down there. So we're hoping, we think that in the spring or the summer, we'll have enough money to buy the top. So our request is if the town would, again, transport the top, the reprocessed asphalt, to the dog park, and then use their equipment to spread it out and lay it down, as they did before.
Was that what was done last time?
Hmm?
Was that what was done last time?
Yes, it was, yeah, about 2, maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
Because the town plows the road, they don't plow in front of the fence where the parking is.
Yeah.
We pay for that plowing and stuff.
Just as a reminder for the future, you have a shed there that was never permitted. You should have gotten a permit for the shed. I don't know if it was brought on the property or built. You also have 2 other, I guess, lean-tos or covers.
Covers, yes.
That, in 2010, you did ask to build one of them, and that was okay. But anything else you've done since then, you need to get permits to do.
Yes, yeah. We didn't know, I guess, about the shed until it was brought up. And I forget when the shed was put there, pretty early on. And then one of the shelters was put up, and then we met with you folks, and we found out that we better be putting in permits, and that's why we put the permit for the other cover going into the park, the entrance. And we will do that in the future, if there is any more construction. It doesn't look like
I don't think so.
there's any more construction to be done. We would like a heated building, but
Good luck.
I don't know.
It's spooky down there.
I don't know if you had a chance to meet our new road agent, or DPW director,
Oh.
Phil Coombs. But Phil, if I can invite you up, I don't know if you have any questions or concerns.
How's it going?
good, thank you.
I was wondering where you guys were looking to get additional millings put.
We won't be putting any more buildings up.
Millings, like the asphalt millings that you guys
Oh.
put down for the,
When we would like to do that?
where?
Oh, in the parking lot, right in front of the dog park.
So the area that they didn't put it, like further towards 125, if you were parked at the front.
Okay, as
to
you
the
park,
right.
to the left and the right, need to be expanded a little bit, and it tapers down, so the park closer to the fence, it gets mushy because it's not very thick, but it's about, I don't know, 6 inches at the road level, at the road edge.
So
we
that
just
area
need-
to the right, we won't be able to do anything there, because that's where the water runs off to.
Okay,
And that kind of feeds into a wetlands further down, so we're gonna have to move that.
got it there, okay,
The other area, so you know where our brush dump is?
yes.
Right back
Yes.
there. In relation to that, where were you, and I guess we can meet out there if you want to kind of look at it, but,
Kind of
Pretty much.
about where the road starts, for the brush.
okay. My only concern with that would be people parked in the way when we need to get out there and dispose of brush.
Okay, do we have a sign up there for that?
We were gonna put a sign, but we didn't.
Okay.
People don't always read either. We find.
If that's a problem, we could put a sign
We
up.
can put a
No
sign,
parking beyond
Yeah.
We do try to be diligent about people parking there. Again, there's not always a board member there all the time to make sure that happens, but most people know that they're not supposed to. As a matter of fact, we moved the porta potty closer to the road so people wouldn't park over near there either,
Yeah.
and drive down there to use it and stuff, so.
But yeah, I just wanna let you know, we couldn't go any further to the right there because that's kind of where the
Yeah,
runoff
understood.
is
Yeah.
intended, and we can go look at the rest of it. The only other thing I had was on the rules, just because of what we did for the softball group, is just a no drinking on town property.
Yeah, we don't allow drinking in there.
Okay,
No
so that's the
way.
guy who was down in the tall boy every time we were working on the, boat
Yeah,
launch.
we don't allow food in there either.
But yeah, that was,
But we love that part.
If you look at the gate, there's a big blue sign that has all of our rules on it. We have more, but those are the key ones.
but yeah, that shouldn't be an issue, we can bring more buildings down there on the other side, just as long as we can keep our access to the press dump open. Shouldn't be a
Okay.
problem.
So when we get the money, I can let you know and give you a heads up.
Yeah, and if you wanna call the highway department, and we can set up a time to just go look at it
Oh,
in
okay.
advance, and then
Okay.
when the spring comes up, you guys have the money, we'll be ready for it.
Okay.
How many, members do you have there roughly?
We currently have 200, and it usually doesn't go beyond that, and it changes. You know, people come and go.
Yeah.
They try it out, and, you know, it was busy at the end of COVID there, because people were trying to get out, so it was busy, but, you know, people have gone back to.
How do you know who pays and who doesn't pay? Is
We
it
keep
something
a-
they're monitoring, or?
Yeah, yeah, we have a membership list that they fill out a registration form,
Yeah.
and what town they're from, and we get their dog license number from the town to make sure they have their rabies certificates and stuff like that. We keep a list.
And we have a dog tag, it changes the color each year. So
Okay.
right now, everyone in the dog park, the dog should have a red tag.
Oh,
on the
okay.
collar.
Yeah.
But if we think they haven't registered, we approach them.
Yeah,
And then, well, I never carry my cell phone, most members do, and they check, if they say they're registered, we check them.
yeah.
And there's been a few people that say, oh, you haven't registered
And
yet.
then if, without getting too specific, if you had 200 people that are paying, could you put a percentage for Kingston? Just out of curiosity.
I think
10,
Kingston's
25.
actually relatively small. It's probably maybe 15-20%. Most of the people are surrounding towns.
Yeah.
That's why we
It's
pay
open.
more.
It's open for anyone.
No, I understand
So,
that.
but I would be opposed personally to that. One of the things that the park does is express its kind of friendship to everyone and invites them in. It's a good thing for the town.
Yeah, no, I'm
It
not saying,
reflects well.
I'm not saying I want to restrict it. I'm just wondering what percentage is used by
Yeah, okay.
residents. That's all I'm
Oh,
trying to
okay,
find out.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Because at one time, it was, people wanted just Kingston.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And we have a lot of good friends there, a lot of good people and good dogs from all over,
Yep.
including Kingston.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay. Yeah, if you could just get us that stuff we're looking at, it'd be greatly appreciated.
All right.
And provided just a list of the current board of directors. Every year when you guys do your elections, if you could just provide us a list of an updated roster.
Yeah,
Oh, it is?
our
Not a list of
elections,
members, board of directors,
Oh, the board?
the board.
Oh,
You should send that to us annually, so we know who's responsible with contact information.
okay, yeah,
Because
that's
if
a
we
good
had a
idea.
problem,
Sure.
I wouldn't know either one of you.
Yeah, right.
No.
And the directors change all the time.
Yep.
yeah, because it's a all volunteer position, the directors, it changes every couple of years.
Understandably so.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
You guys
know,
are tight.
because it's all volunteer, you know, and, you know, people still work, and so,
Thank
And
goodness.
if you have dogs, please come on down. It's a good group of people.
yeah.
Yep.
And we do appreciate what you guys have done, people have done for us over the years. It's provided a lot of good social time for dogs and people
Yep.
since it started.
It's a great park, it's one of the best around, I think.
Obviously, if you got 200 members, that's pretty strong, that's a, you know.
And there are incidents with dogs, and there always will be. It's a dog park.
Yeah.
But we follow up on all of them.
Yeah, and we will suspend people for like 30 days, or if they have 3 offenses, they're gone.
Yeah.
So we try to be really strict because we don't want to cause any issues either for the town.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in.
So, about the document though, do we want to document something or?
Well, that's right, maybe at least a bylaws or something that we could have something on file.
I gave Susan a copy of how it started.
Yep,
Maybe even that, just so there's something on record.
right.
I mean, I'm okay with that, if you're okay with it. Just so as people change, there's something they can reference.
Yep.
That was my concern, and making sure you folks had no liability.
Thank
All
you.
right? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And come on down.
Public comment number 1. Does anyone have any public comment? Going back to revised list of ARPA. So we still have a lot of blank spots as far as the renovations to town hall, but I believe you're working on that.
Yeah, I had one I wanted to address. Please, the board.
We had put in for a monitor for the highway department training room. And I was misunderstood. I believe it was, I thought it had been a Bluetooth functionality on there, but what it was is actually, because that room is not very wide, what Lisa had researched was one you can actually see. Because the first 2 seats at the table, because you're off to the side of the screen, you couldn't actually see it with the other ones that we had looked at. And we had tried, so that was why the price was more. It wasn't just the smart TV functionality, but it's also a monitor that when we have instructors on site, they can plug in an HDMI cable, which doesn't make it super expensive off the bat, but it was mostly the quality of the LCD screen made it so you could see it from the sides, so that everybody, when we were doing trainings in there, that was why that expense was.
We didn't get a price yet. Did we get that price?
I believe it was $1,700.
All right, 17.
And so to answer the board's question, yes, there are cheaper ones, but they really wouldn't be very worthwhile in there for the people in the first 4 seats in the room.
Okay.
So that's why that price was, and I apologize for not being here. I was at another meeting at the fire station when that came up.
Is this in addition to training? You're not talking just about the CDL license thing, right?
So we have numerous trainings at the highway department. Like Thursday, we're doing a snow fighter seminar. We have 5 other highway departments from the surrounding areas coming in for that. And that's about calibration of salting equipment and just techniques for that. We've had 2 flagger trainings with our insurance company. So we do quite a bit of training in there. The benefits committee met in there. So I have been utilizing Mondays as our maintenance day, and then we do a safety class or a safety training in the morning, so it would be incorporated into that as well, just videos on safety rather than me sitting there and reading from a piece of paper, actually having someone show, a professional teach the class, video.
When you have other towns come in for training, do we generate any revenue from that?
So, no, it's just a courtesy. We have our own form of mutual aid amongst the highway departments, so we help each other out where we can. So if we have Primex coming in to do like the flagger training, we notify the surrounding departments, and if they have anybody new or anyone who's expired on their training, they send them over. And they'll do the same for us if they're undergoing a training that we would need.
Do you know anything on the renovations of town hall? Have we get anywhere on that?
Yeah, so myself and the chairman met on that on Thursday after the inspectors meeting, did a full assessment of the stage, and the HVAC needs there, and we've got, I think him and I have developed a path forward for that. In one of the renovations of the town hall, there was a lot of stuff there's about 8 different iterations of electrical wiring in there, but the ducting, I think the appropriate solution, given the current setup of the offices, would be to switch to a mini split system for the offices, and then utilizing the forced air system for this area and the hallway downstairs. So that would be the primary heat, and it would feed the offices, but it would allow individual control in the offices, which I think
That would be
is
good.
very necessary. So that's the intent on that. The next phase of this is figuring out the front steps to tie that in with the entire project, so we're doing it all at once. So it's basically all the mechanical, we have a rough idea of what we're doing. I don't think the electrical is gonna be anything major. The footprint of the meeting area back there and a storage area has been roughly figured out. So I'm hoping in about 3 weeks I can bring kind of a rough sketch, rough plan to the board, and then whatever the board decides on that, probably within a month of that, I'd have estimates so that we can start.
So there's nothing that under the stage that can be taken care of?
Well, everything can be taken care of. It's just
Well, no, I'm saying, you said it was HVAC, but if you individualize it, as you said, that will take care of the stuff under the stage?
Well, what we'll have to do is, so the intent is to keep the facade of the stage where it is currently, and then there would be kind of a bench in the back, and that would be where the main ducting would be run into the hallway and still into the this area and that meeting area. So it wouldn't be as reliant on forced hot air, but we would still have it as a secondary system. The primary would be the mini splits in the office.
Would the stage still be elevated then, you mean?
So that part of the stage would be elevated and then go in about 2.5 feet, and that would be the bench that would be in there. It'd be a little lower than that stage, so you could actually sit on it, but there would be ducting underneath of it, and then everything would be brought down.
Because my concern would be, like, I'm just concerned about what we're spending for money based on, I mean, we originally said way back when we wanted to make this more user-friendly as far as audio and everything else, actually have some meeting spaces. So that's where I want to come up with that price before we start spending too much money. I don't know if anyone else feels.
I didn't want to bring up the police radios again today. I had an opportunity to talk to the chief just to get some more input on that. And, you know, it's an issue. I mean, he's having some issues with the radios that are 10 years old. And if it wasn't a life safety issue, I would have no problem saying, hey, let's wait until we get all these costs and stuff in there. But, you know, he's very adamant. He was going to be here tonight. He unfortunately had a death in the family.
Yes.
So he wanted to come and advocate about this tonight, and I support the decision, and I even thought about when we talked about only doing enough for the full-time folks, and I can't sit there and say that a part-timer who's on a maybe shift with less people or on a weekend and maybe has less experience, I can't sit there and say, okay, well, their radio doesn't need to be a new one as well, with them being that old.
I get the radio part. My concern is, it's not like they're not working. If you definitely need someone, I'd like to buy something, okay? And it's not like they're going to stop working tomorrow. They're working. And I know he has some that aren't working. I understand that part. But my concern is spending $53,000, you know, on like just tomorrow. Whereas if we didn't have this money, it wouldn't have happened anyways. I get the life safety, but again, the radios, everyone has 10-year-old radios.
I know, but this is a situation. We have a new chief that's inherited a situation, determined that, hey, this hasn't been budgeted for replacement. And I know the last big go around for police radios, I don't know how it worked with the fire service, but there was grant money that provided most of those radios that when we came to that new generation of radios. But without them being replaced regularly, I would definitely end up buying. I mean, my preference would be to authorize the 15 radios that we need, because as we grow, even if we start, I sense that we could be going into default budgets the way the economy is going. So I don't even see him having the ability to even start a radio replacement program.
Yeah, The office ones are gonna be around, we have these till 2024. They're not going away, I just don't wanna spend 53,000 right out the gate.
Well, we haven't spent the first 370. I think we're still in good shape. I don't think we're gonna be out of money for any of the town hall renovations or even the radios, because we haven't even fully, we barely allocated the first half of the money. We still have another $300,000.
And the longer we wait, these type of items, I'm just watching the prices just go up and up.
And availability.
Everything that we budgeted for, you know, at my day job, like everything in this venue has gone up, especially anything with the M on it, you know, from Motorola, it just stands for more money.
What's the down, how long does it take to get them, do you think?
I don't even know, that's the thing, is I don't know what the supply chain estimate is on when we're gonna get these. I mean, I've seen other police equipment that we're waiting on take 9 months, 12 months, 15 months. I have no estimate of when radios would be available to come.
Well, I would suggest that we postpone the conversation again until Joel's here. Not that you're in the business too, but if Joel's to present it and get a feel for the times, you know, how long it's going to take to get them, and how many of the 15 are working or not working, or how many, you know, they just have 15?
Well, they currently have, yeah, they have like 15 radios, and so he clarified he has 9 full-time officers, and then he has 1 officer that's essentially permanent kind of permanent part-time.
It's a weekend duty officer.
Correct.
So there's 10, he would definitely be right
And
up.
even, like I said, even if we start a radio replacement program, which I think is the appropriate thing going forward in budgeting, we don't know if we're gonna add staff to that over the years, so are we gonna then be increasing the number of officers and personnel that we have as well?
I would suggest we put that on the agenda for the next meeting so that we can take a vote on it. It gives us a chance to think. I could vote on it now and just agree to pay. I am in favor of getting the radios. Because I do think we're gonna have a hard time getting all 15 of them at one time to begin with. So it's gonna be spread out. You know, maybe we'll get half now and half 6 months from now.
But I'm comfortable if the board would prefer, but I would like to be on the agenda for next week and have the chief have an opportunity to come here and hear directly from him, and then.
If he can.
Yeah,
We can put on the agenda, if he's not here, we can still vote on it next week.
The next meeting's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Because next Monday's.
Okay, all right.
Okay. And that way, in the meantime, we can see if he can reach, if he's available to, or I can use some of our contacts to reach out to say, hey, what's the lead on, you know, radios and stuff like that.
Right.
And these items, this particular item, don't go to bid? I mean, it
It's
has to
gonna be a sole source.
No, it's no source of Motorola, isn't it?
So everything is Motorola.
It is. A lot of the radio communications companies kind of have district monopolies on, I think a better term, where they don't infringe on each other's stuff, and then to be compatible with all the state's radio banks and emergency channels.
And there are other ones, but I think the chief would like a sole source, and I don't blame on that aspect.
Yeah, I would want some of the other radios that are out there, you know, they're cheaper.
No, I just,
Yeah, I think sole source is what you want.
Yeah.
assume you could.
Yeah.
And any other questions on that?
Do we need Phil?
You know, I think next item for old business, still in old business. Had a meeting today with Phil and Paul Butler regarding the grant was applied for the playground. Just to fill the board in, voters approved 29,000 last year. It was incumbent into this year. And Parkers Bank has been gracious to offer us 10,000 as well with that. And through work with Paul selling bricks, he's raised like another just over $2,000. So there is like 42 and some change thousand set aside for playground. He applied for a federal grant, and it was moving forward, and it looks like we could get the grant if we wanted, but there's a little bit of work. We have to do some survey, engineering, and that. Phil took a look at it, and he's concerned with taking federal funds because it's unknown to me. I thought it was just a playground. Apparently, it encompasses Como Field and other things. And if we do take the federal funds, that starts going into that with, you know, ADA compliancy, there's a sprinkler system there, you know, everything else.
Well, it doesn't section it off just to the area of the playground.
No, see, and that's, I wasn't aware of that. So Phil brought this, Phil just kind of fell into it recently. He did his homework and he has a recommendation that, you know, we probably shouldn't go with the federal funds. So I wanted everyone else to hear this. So Phil, if you can.
And just actually, so when I guess we take the federal funds, does it kind of make it that encompasses it in kind of perpetuity or?
Correct.
So the survey would entail Como Field and the park, and it would be, that parcel of property could not be done, nothing could be altered from that other than it has to be a park in perpetuity. The concern with that is the fairgrounds is kind of a wild card in our future. We don't know what we want to do with it, and that's one of my primary concerns, is that would greatly inhibit our ability to do things because it would control two of the access roads, essentially going in there. The access road that we use for storage of materials would have to be removed from the park as part of the federal guidelines. And then along Green Road, which butts right up against Como Field, I don't know what the rules are for that, but I'd have to read into it further. I was kind of doing as much reading on it as I could this morning. There is a wetlands area that is pretty much part of Como Field, to the west of it there, so I don't know where they stand on that again. And then the ADA compliance. In my assessment, a lot of the equipment that we have there can be rehabilitated, which I think was part of the original plan, and then the person who came up with that plan started backtracking and coming up with different things. I do believe in ADA compliance moving forward, but it's kind of like when you renovate your house. You're not subject to the current code if you're just doing minor updates on your home. If you take it down to the studs, you're subject to everything. And those are pretty detailed, and if we go for that grant, my estimation is probably 30 to 40% of it would be tied up in compliance with the rules. So it's kind of a wash, in my opinion, and then it's really unknown when we'd actually get the money. So it's kind of hindering the forward progress of this project. I talked to Paul Butler this evening. I did find an old catalog. There are plenty of pieces that, essentially there's not a plan for this area. And what I would like to do is develop a plan, leave open areas, and then however a committee or the rec department would like to do it is figure out what they want for apparatus in there for children to play on. So whether it's a climbing wall or a jungle gym or whatever it may be, we have the space for it while continuing to utilize the stuff that's already there and rehabbing it. That would allow us to budget this over time so that we build in access, we make it prettier, we put a fence up, we utilize the money that has been earmarked to make it better than it is now, and just replace what we have now with a few upgrades, a fenced area that parents don't have to sit there with one eye, you know, on their kid because they go running the wrong way. There is a fence along Folly Brook, but not on the other side of the park. So those are the kind of some of the things we talked about. I hate to turn away free money, but nothing's free. And just given the status of that entire parcel, I think it doesn't make sense for us to box ourselves in perpetuity for whatever the rule may be. I mean, there's probably pages upon pages of little trickery in there that I'm unaware of and wasn't able to find today. But so I talked to Paul a little further about it this evening. He's in support of that, and I think that gives us the most flexibility moving forward while still being able to deliver a good product to the people at the end of the day.
What was the original, when they had a plan, you know, when they went to town meeting with the warrant article, 50,000 sticks out of my head, is an amount that they actually felt they needed to do it.
So there was a consultant that came out, took a look at what was currently there for equipment, and had ideas of how he was going to rework it, but what he failed to at least make known to the people involved was that it was going to be a third of the size of the current park. So he was basically cherry picking pieces from the equipment and then just putting them back up in a smaller footprint, which I think is the opposite of what we need. I think more communication with the people who are using the park and seeing what they would like would be beneficial. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you what I wanna see in there, because I don't care, but, I think if we leave it, if we kind of have designated spots with standoff distances around them and access so we can get equipment in there to install the pieces and maintain stuff, it'll give us a lot more flexibility to meet the needs of people. And it'll give Paul time to just kind of poll people, figure out what they want, perhaps do fundraising to raise money for these pieces and get those put in there.
Do you think you can get started in the spring with it though? I mean, it's been a,
I think we can do some of it this fall.
okay, just.
So the intention is to try and get the fence in for the snow flies and get at least some of the materials purchased so that when the weather breaks, but a lot of it's like decking boards on the surfaces of, you know, the higher kind of crawl through areas and stuff like that. It's just pressure treated that's worn out. So if we went with plasticized decking or something like that as the surface on that, that would be, you know, it'd be taken care of forever. The posts themselves are, you know, pressure treated square, so they're in great shape. There's just some pieces that need to come out because they're dangerous. Some things that need to be rehabbed, and I think a lot of that can be done this fall.
So if the board's okay, what I'm looking for is agreement that we'll pull out of the grant. And let Phil work with Paul. And like I said, we can encumber, we'll be able to actually go and start doing work with the money we have, getting a fence in and some things and show improvement and spend it. But are you okay with withdrawing from the grant?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Yes.
I think it's a no-brainer, actually.
I think.
And there's nothing saying we can't go back later. If we want to do some major expansion on there and we want to go for the grant, it's still there. We haven't taken
Right.
it,
It's
so.
not like they were building us not like the feds are willing to build us a multi-million-dollar like sports complex that.
Yeah, it was essentially, it was a match grant, so it was gonna be $42,000 on top when,
Yeah.
If it's okay with the board, I think I'd like to have a formal vote, because we did apply for it, so,
I'll make a motion that we withdraw from the grant, and then just move forward with,
Second.
okay. Motion second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you, Phil.
I had just one more quick thing, not as quick as everybody'd like, but, just an update on waste management. For everybody's knowledge, beyond the postcard. So, not this upcoming week, but the following week, they will begin delivering the automated barrels. They're not automated, they just have a bar on them and wheels on them that can be hooked by the truck and dumped in. It is exactly the same as your recycling bin, except it has a different color lid. Trash goes in there. It's 96 gallons, same size as the recycling bin. So this will be every week that your trash will be picked up. At no point does this make your current trash can obsolete or, you know, no good or expired or anything like that. You can rinse it out and use it for leaves or beer cans or whatever you want to use it for. We will be holding an event to recycle trash cans. The date has not been determined. We need to just get this off the ground and get things rolling and then see what the actual need is. We don't encourage people to throw it into the new trash can or anything like that. Your recycling can is still good. You don't have to turn anything in. The new cans are gonna be delivered to their driveway. They don't have to leave their house or call anyone or do anything. Lisa, our admin, has done a phenomenal job of going through all of the paperwork with the recycling bins and seeing who has two and who has additional residences there. So everybody who's currently set up for that should get that. That being said, there is one item the board needs to discuss, and that is the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee met last week to discuss the fee for an additional trash can. And so this fee was based off of the $75 for the can itself. And unlike recycling, there will be a per can fee from Waste Management.
Every year.
Every year, and it's $122.40 per year. So the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee's recommendation that I'm presenting here this evening is $687 for a trash can. a second trash can. The first one is completely covered by the town. But what that would do is cover us for this initial contract. I see it as an impact fee. Moving forward, that can would be theirs, you know, assuming we have a contract with Waste Management. But, to me, that's the only way that's fair.
Run that by me again, the second can.
Well, yeah, what was the total on that?
$687.
So you're charging for the second can for the 5 years of the contract. That's what that math equals out.
Yep.
So if I say, geez, you know what, I really don't need the second can, and they call them and come and pick it up, are they going to be reimbursed?
You tell me.
You want it?
No, he won't own it, he'll only own it for the 2 years. Well, no, you do own it, because you paid for the 5 years up front.
Yep.
Now, would we allow, because I mean, so on social media, people like, how could people, you know, people thought they were even just buy the first can, people were torches and pitchforks, like how could they think that people can afford a can or can use our old cans? Would we allow them to pay installment per year, or is it a flat fee all upfront for 5 years?
That'd be a flat fee.
Well,
I don't know,
Because I think for a lot of, you know, when you're paying anywhere between $5,000 and $15,000 for your taxes every year, to be told that you're gonna have to come, if you want a second trash can, and there are some people that are very adamant they're gonna need that second can week one, you know, to say, okay, you have to give us another $700 right now as we're in a recession.
I would strongly encourage people to make friends with your neighbor who's single and puts one bag of trash out in his can each day.
it's hard to administrate, if we don't collect up front, you have to administrate that, and that's gonna take some serious time.
But if we don't approach this the right way, we're just gonna have illegal dumping all over town,
Yeah.
which we already have problems with in certain locations.
That's true, that's true.
And, you know, all of a sudden it's gonna be, highway department's gonna be getting called that, hey, we just got another truckload of trash that got dumped off here in the middle of the night.
So, and just for the broader plan for this, the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee is, in the long term, trying to set up a collection point where we can take items that would typically be thrown in the trash, such as, well, they shouldn't be thrown at yard waste, but, you know, setting up potentially yard waste, acceptance, textiles, you know, glass, cardboard, just things like that kind of overflow the system. And we're looking at all these things that are of little to no cost to the town, but can help people get rid of multiple waste streams. You know, the fact of the matter is that garbage is a rigged game, and the house is winning pretty hard against us.
And we've been very fortunate that we had that one business step up to take appliances and stuff like
Yeah,
that. for us
and-
at cost. I mean, some people have a limitation on just getting it there, not everyone has a pickup truck. And one of the other things that kept coming up on social media is they were concerned about some of the elderly folks trying to haul a 96-gallon can.
Well, that's going to be my
Yeah, and so that's another portion of this. We do have 64 gallon, we have 150 of them. So if someone would like a smaller container for legitimate reasons, we're specifically targeting the elderly housing areas, for that, or people who, you know, are having physical disabilities or unable to roll that down there. We only have 150 of them. So if there's more than that, we'll assess at that time, but that's what we put in there kind of for a fluff number, and then the 96 gallons we take in, we could use as second totes. But,
Well, I can tell you that you can order 56 small ones for lamplight, because very minimal area to put them in a garage in the winter, especially if you got the recycling can and it's very big.
Recycle, it's the same size as recycle.
I understand, but if you put another one the same size as that in these garages, which are single car garages, it's very little, like mine are outdoors in the winter, but, I mean, in the summer. Probably 60% of the people are elderly, they can't maneuver the 54 inch one, let alone the very big one. And we are, I am collectively trying to work out that exact same thing. I have 7 units in my building. Well, probably need 2 cans. You have to figure out where to keep them and they all, you know, people that have 1 bag a week will just stick them in there when the trash comes out on Wednesday mornings and Tuesday night. But cans are gonna sit there, I know,
Yeah, we're gonna have bugs to work out in this whole thing. I mean, it's been a huge undertaking to get just the initial list to send to Waste Management, because it's, you know, and that's been pretty time consuming. We had hoped to have more outreach to individual communities, but we're gonna be kinda putting this plane together as we fly. So,
is there, are you looking and thinking of it, why are we limiting yourself to 150 of the 54 inch ones?
Because we have to buy them.
yeah, so Waste Management has based this contract amount on a certain number, which was, I can't remember the exact number, but it was around 2,200 residents, 2,200 pickups throughout town is what they're basing that on, and that's their rate, that's their route information and all that. One would think that a company that has done this all over the country would be a little more adept at doing it, but they're not. So a lot of this is just falling on us.
So you have 2,200 large cans, or that's what they're planning to deliver, based on the numbers, right?
Yes.
Of that 2,200, 150 of them are small.
Correct.
So I guess I have that. So if we took 500 less of the large ones and added 500 more of the small ones, why are we paying more money? The small cans are more money than the big cans?
At the end of the day, we're paying weight. What the $122.40 per year is for the guy to pull forward 5 feet, hook onto that thing, and dump it. The reason we didn't have to pay that with recycling is because they'd make money on recycling. And it was only every 2 weeks. This is, in their estimation, a legitimate business cost for them to process this. Again, as I said, this is a rigged game, and we're not holding any cards.
I still don't, I can't comprehend why we can't get more small for the town, for the people who want it.
We can, but the logistics of managing two different sizes for different houses, it's already going to be very hard to track. What we need to not be in a situation like we have been, where kind of recycling bins just went out and some things went out, and we have 30 man hours in a spreadsheet trying to figure out what's what. Going forward, that's going to be tracked very closely, as, you know, this person has a 64 gallon one, this person has a 96 gallon one, and I think as the need is identified, we could probably work something out with Waste Management, but we had to pick a number to start with, and that's what we did.
Recycling is still every other week though, right?
Correct.
And if we set a rate, are we gonna have it prorated, say they decide in 3 years they need a second can, are they paying the $687, or are they paying the 75 plus the 122 times however many years are left in the contract?
I'd leave the finance side of it up to you. I mean, ideally, they're coming here to the town hall to pay for it, and then they would come to the highway department to pick up
I
the
don't have a
can.
problem prorating it at the 122.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, if you're gonna buy it, and I agree, I think as much, it's gonna be a huge pill to swallow for something like that, almost $700 up front though.
But everyone if you live there, you get one. This is an extra one.
Correct.
Because even any multi-families will have two, as long as you're taxed or that's the way you're listed.
Yeah, and I just look at it as whatever, you know, obviously two adults or a single person living in a family versus a family that has 5 children.
Yeah.
The amount of trash they use is very different. So to tell a family that's going into a heating oil season,
No, I
that
understand all that.
hey, guess what? If you want to get rid of all the trash you shouldn't produce, you're gonna have to pay another $700.
Do you think, Phil, if for instance, an hour development, they come along and they drop off the big cans, whatever the date is, and we figure out some kind of a system, only from size, get the cost from minimum, just, you know, from.
Yeah, that would be the ideal scenario, is if you have one building with 4 units in it, you would have one 96 gallon container go out, and everybody can go outside and just throw their trash.
That's what, but if they, the second now, they're gonna deliver 56 units, 56 trash cans. If we come up with a system and end up with using 30, will they come back and get the other ones? I mean, how would we?
We will come get, so the highway department will come and get them.
Okay,
So we're going to be, we need some on hand so that we can bring them out to people who want a second can, or swap them out with someone who wants a smaller one. So I think just keeping that internal and just doing the reporting to Waste Management we're trying to figure that portion out with them now, but.
It'd be probably,
Sorry.
I was gonna say, it should be worth talking to Tammy, maybe Tammy and Lisa can figure out logistically some of the money part of it, because they're good at, I mean, Tammy knows really good about organizing difficult challenges and that, collecting that money, or do it every 2 years. Or split it in half, for example, but you gotta pay it, but make sure you collect.
Yeah, I have no problem tracking it, and we can report that to the town hall. I
Yeah.
just don't wanna be involved on the finance
And I
side.
understand that, but that's why I was thinking of Tammy, maybe she could think of a way we could make it work for some individuals.
Yeah, I was thinking, one of the things I was thinking, that's why maybe we should put it on the agenda for 2 weeks, because people need to know before the first, because there are some people that are
Yeah.
very adamant they're going to need a second can on
Right.
day
There
one.
are people on the
I'm
recycling
a
committee.
high-use family, I got 3 kids, and I know we go through a lot of trash, unfortunately. But I mean, I also have a commercial dumpster if I had to go to it, if I overflowed, so I'm in a better place than everyone else.
Your trucks will fit the best.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe we can propose something, maybe there could be, it is the fee for the year, but maybe we allow 4 installment payments through the year, so you can get the can, but they'll allow, quarterly payments for the first year, that's $700. I just, for some people, that $700 is gonna be unattainable.
I totally agree with you, but I also look at it, the nightmare side of it is collecting.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking, we should have talk to finance about it.
Yeah,
And it makes it a lot of work on someone to track 2,200 people.
and collect,
What do you do if you don't collect?
go get the other trash can, I mean, really?
I seen this in The Sopranos, I just backed up to the guy's place and gave him his garbage back.
It's already been said the cameras are on the truck, so,
Phil will be following the trash truck, and as soon as it's empty, he'll take the south can, throw it in the light.
That's a good idea. The long-term way out of this problem is to cut down on what we're throwing out. And we need to come out with better ways of taking care of our waste and diverting them to things that do not cost us as much money or are free for us, for the town.
That train was coming at us no matter what.
Yeah.
And so now we're looking at it.
And we've had a group of dedicated volunteers working on it for almost a year now, and I want to give a shout out to them because this has not been easy. I know people aren't happy about it. We did go with the larger size cans. There were 64-gallon cans, and there was some discussion of that. I mean, we're not trying to force anything on anyone. We got the biggest can they had.
I think a lot of people don't realize how expensive trash removal is.
Yeah.
When I first got out, just the first couple of vendor payments and stuff that I saw with waste management, I was blown away.
We spend $45,000 to $50,000 a month on trash. By the end of this contract, we will be spending over $900,000 on trash.
Yeah.
This is going to be the single biggest expenditure that the town has moving forward, and we got to figure something out.
And I know the committee's been working on the contract. I think it'd be great if the committee's willing to, and I know it's a volunteer committee. I know you set up the displays of voting on, what's recyclable and what's not. Gives people some. I think really just informational sheets on like, hey, maybe there are some other ways we can cut down on it. But
Funny you should ask that. So there is Talking Trash at KingstonNH.org. You can subscribe to our newsletter, which is coming out this week, hopefully.
It's titled Talking Trash.
Yep, that's the email address. The other thing on that vein is the household hazardous waste pickup will be on October 29th at the Highway Barn. That is open to Kingston residents. It is not open to Sandown residents, despite what you may have read to the Carriage Town News.
October, did you say October 20th?
29th. Yep, and that's from, crap.
Usually 9 to 1.
9 to, I think it's 9 to noon, but people will come in by the high school at Kelly Road. There'll be signs and there'll be details diverting them, but figured it was time to cut the cord on the seminary and just do it on our own property. But just want to put that out there. You can get rid of things that you can't normally throw in the trash. This is the time to get rid of them. So they have that twice a year. But to your point, the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee, a lot of what we do is informational, trying to get information out there, trying to get the word out to people about these things and what's actually recyclable. And a lot of that will benefit the town. If we can get our recycling program dialed in, the way the contract is structured, there could be a lot more money coming in than going out for recycling, if we're recycling the right things. But again, this transition has kind of taken all the air out of the room for other projects, so we're just handling that right now, and then starting next year, as we get this behind us, we'll be moving on to other things to kind of divert things out of the waste stream, so.
So we'll put that on the agenda for 2 weeks, think of that, but like I said, I think I'm not opposed to prorating it if they get it later, but I think.
I'd just like to see some, if it's possible from the finance side, for those that are gonna need it, for those that need some type of installment, I'd like to see it be an option if possible. If it's not, I'm gonna defer to advice from finance and whether or not it's something we can manage, because you're right, there's gonna be a collection and enforcement mechanism with that as well. But, I guess we chase dog licenses.
Yeah, that's why I think Tammy might be a good resource for that, she can think of a system. And I'll talk to her about it, and she can talk with Lisa.
I mean, we'll know where they live, so.
Yeah, I know, that's the easy part.
Any good news?
I don't know if it's good news. I did have a frequent flyer who's a violator of the driveway permits that I'm gonna look into sending a cease and desist letter to. They've been given multiple verbal warnings, and we'll be sending actually a certified letter of the cease and desist vein. Would there be any issue if I spoke to Sumner about that?
Is someone still doing stuff, or?
We haven't gone to Sumner, because it seemed like he was.
Not looking to do anything anymore, so.
Okay.
You know what, why don't you reach out to him and see if he was willing to do it, and if he resists, we'll go to Plan B.
Okay. I know we've used him for cease and desist, so I was just gonna run that by him.
Actually, even the cease and desist, we talked about using Melissa
Okay.
Burley
Yeah.
on that, actually. I would suggest that, because that's what we were saying for stuff like that, she was overlooking everything.
Okay. Good news. The materials and the labor for at least the pad for the police carport will be donated. So, and the highway department will be digging, and we'll be doing the excavation, so at least that portion of it will be
Okay.
Very
pretty cheap, so.
That's good.
Ended on a high note.
Thank you. Any other old business? New business? Anything for new business? Okay, bond release for alternative sales.
I recuse myself on that one.
Okay. But it already, for anyone that didn't see it, it went to Dennis Quintel, he agreed with it.
Yeah, that was why we had talked about it before, but we just needed to make sure he was on board.
Yeah, and he was on board.
Okay.
So if everyone's okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
Return the bond to alternative sales.
As recommended by Mr. Quintel. Second.
All right, motion and second, any further discussion? Seeing none,
I vote aye.
I vote aye, and Mr. Bashar abstains.
No, recuse, not even.
Recuse. Okay, Susan, there's nothing here to sign on it, but it's,
I'm just gonna have the
Paula send it out, okay.
Okay.
Very good. Town hall updates. So we're having an issue, the phones have been ordered for the town. Don't know how long it can take, like everything else. But Phil, could we make a phone call to Kent Communication and Dave Black to see, he put in the system here not that long ago and get Paula's phone unlocked. It is still set to Cindy's password, which we don't have.
I don't think we can, right? We couldn't for Bill's.
They said probably 2 or 3 weeks.
At least 2 to 3 weeks just to get the parts. I don't see why we can't just make a phone call. Dave Black is very easygoing.
But we couldn't do it for Graham Pellerin. We couldn't unlock his stuff from Bill Seaman.
No, but that was because it wasn't, we just got this phone system put in. Those are updated phones, we only did those 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago. We did them during the COVID.
Okay.
Phil, his was an old system that predated Kent Communication. It was an old system. This is, Kent put this one in. At least make a phone call, or the amplifier and the microphones, but that's going. I apologize for those that can't hear. The speakers are, you know, not mounted on the wall anymore, but.
I thought the sound was better tonight in here, around the table.
Maybe
Phil
around-
couldn't hear me.
Right, but.
Can you hear us?
You got a lot of echo coming in here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we do.
And then the only other thing is, I think we talked about with the digitizing is having a public computer. Susan's working on it downstairs for people to go and access the intranet as opposed to the internet.
We had ordered one, but Block 5 did not approve that one because it was too easy for people to access other things in their system. They would prefer to have a keyboard on the shelf by the assessing office. The actual computer will be behind the shelf and the monitor can be behind the plexiglass so they can look at records. If they print, it goes to our printer, we charge them. But it would be safer that way, so we're working on that sort of system now.
Public comment number 2. Anyone?
Adam?
Adam?
This is just a minor thing, and I've heard everything, not disputing that. If you're gonna be telling people that they're leaving $700 worth of plastic in their driveways, that might be a security concern. I don't know if anyone given any thought to potential issues with, like, oh, that trash bin is worth $700 now, I'm just going to steal it. Just a thought.
All of our RFID chips and cereal right now, so.
Thank you.
Sorry, just a thought.
Nope. Correspondence. We got an application for a special event.
That's the one at Wicked Cass.
Yep.
Did they check with the owner of the property?
And we have an approval letter from the owner of the property. He's aware of it. There is a police detail. So I think unless anyone has any issues with it.
I'm okay with it. As long as it, right, as long as the owner is
Yeah.
aware, he's got the police detail, I'm fine.
Yeah, okay, so Susan, can you let him know?
Sure.
Okay, that's approved. There's nowhere to sign on this, is there?
It's one of those. it's
Yeah,
a special
so
event,
I'll just put approved.
If you wanna initial it.
Today's date.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Oh, that's what you got.
Were you here for that? I'm sorry. Wow.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Alright. And then the alternative sales for the debt, there was a, Paul Butler talked about the last time, doing a, craft fair and having a BYOB. We talked about the last of the, department head meeting. And did we actually approve it then? We want to write it down.
Wanted something in writing.
So he put it in for it. Is everyone okay with me signing?
Yeah, that was just the talk, because we had done BYOB.
Yeah, it's strictly, it's not there's no serving beer, it's just someone's gonna bring a bottle of
And
wine.
they were estimating like 12 people. should
Yeah,
be.
the craft night, there's
Yeah.
they paint the picture of things that they do in other places.
Like I said, I mean, I know we
Yeah.
did a much larger one here at
Yeah.
the town hall there,
Yeah.
a few years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
So I'm fine with it.
Me too.
Okay, alright. Okay, and then there is a, solar energy exception here, someone's applying for.
I've never seen these before. Is that just off? It's a 5,000, and that one in particular, it's 5,000 from the assessed value, not $5,000 off the tax bill.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
It's made
Because I was gonna get
to,
solar panels.
it's made to offset the cost of the
Yeah,
system.
it's only on the assessed values.
Okay.
So, if
So
ever.
why should we subsidize their solar panels?
You're not, it's, everyone's allowed to, it's allowed, it's one of the set, standardized, just like a veteran
It's
or,
gonna add to their assessed value, and this is to make it so it doesn't increase their taxes, because you wanna encourage them to do things.
yeah, there's all these set reasons
So you're
for,
saying that the solar panels will increase the value of the property, so we're in effect waiving that increased value.
Yeah.
For how long?
But in most cases, I have to assume it's probably gonna increase the value more than the exemption.
That's the question we had today, is that probably needs to be.
Well, that's all bad.
tweaked, but, yeah.
That's
But
too
it's-
bad.
But it helps offset either way. So,
Yeah.
But that's what's in our ordinance, is that 5,000.
Yeah, it's a set thing that we already have in our ordinances and allowed under state and federal guidelines. So if motion to approve,
I'll make a motion to approve the $5,000 solar energy system exemption.
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we'll pass this around. That was the car show. We have two letters in your packet from the HDC. One from Virginia Morse, next door to 186 Main Street, and one from the chairman of the HDC, Susan Prescott. What is the board's preference on that? They both question we had the lawyer come in and talk to us about it, and what the lawyer pointed out was our ordinances are not in line, that they're,
We need a discussion on this in general, and I'm not prepared to do that tonight because I'm just reading them.
yeah, so what do we want to do? Do we want to put this on the agenda? What do we want to do with this? Look at it again? Do you want the lawyer back in?
I think legal's really gonna need to take a look at it, because one of my big concerns is that they're taking issue with, they're referencing the definition of family.
This is,
And I don't know if our ordinances are out of line at this point, because even the state enacted stuff with accessory dwelling units over the years that made it so that there's no longer a requirement on, familial, residency within ADUs and stuff like that. There used to be large restrictions on that within communities and at the state level, so I think the definitions in there could be problematic and could conflict with current
What I believe she was saying was their ordinances versus the planning board ordinances and everything else. So we can have a discussion in 2 weeks. We can ask Heidi to come in again.
I think we need to meet with the attorney to review this issue because it's bigger than just the proposed vets housing down the street.
Okay.
Because in reading of the letter from their attorney, they're questioning all kinds of definitions of who can live in a multi-dwelling, which opens up the whole HDC to reinterpretation of ADUs or anything else. So we need to tread, I think, carefully and ask the attorney to look at this letter again, this one here, because that's a new one, and just.
There's two of them.
There's two of them, that's correct, including from the abutters, and we need to have a discussion.
And that's the thing, is I think legal needs to look at it not as in a vacuum of just one side. I think they have to look at
The bigger picture.
the planning boards or the zoning ordinances and the HDC ordinances, and I think we may need to look at some of that ADU language to make sure that there's no bleed over from the intent of the state's ADU changes and how it affects some of those definitions that we have.
Chuck, you were here. What's your opinion?
Well, the lawyer said that they can do it. That was her opinion was.
Their lawyers were here, but
Their lawyers were here, our lawyer was here, and her opinion was that their lawyers were correct, as I interpreted it, and they can,
But
they're getting historic.
It's getting bigger, the issue is getting bigger, not smaller.
But yeah, and the thing is, I think from based off of reading the history of it, I think, we have these letters asking that we essentially, kind of put the brakes on stuff, but if the last information.
All right, so let's-
Go, I think we have to tread very cautiously.
Okay, so let's send these two letters to Heidi, okay, and see if Heidi can send us an email to the board,
See if she thinks that.
okay, and ask her to answer, or I can make a phone call to Heidi tomorrow, actually, if you want to forward that to her.
Forward them to her.
And then I'll have her respond to the whole board, so you can see, and then once you have her response, if we decide we need to have her back in, we can have her back in.
So you want her response in an email so that you have something in writing to
Yeah.
discuss.
I mean, we need to settle this particular issue as it comes on, but as Ellie says, down the road, then maybe one thing, what can we do to, I don't want to say protect against it, but what can we do to?
Or she basically said the ordinances are kind of all over the place, kind of like we've had with other developers. Our ordinances are not in line from one department to another, is what she was saying. And that was, Glenn Greenwood was here for that discussion, and Ellen was here, right? Was Ellen here? Richard?
And it's, I know the board, this past year, the board, you know, a lot of stuff went to the town hall where we cleared up some conflicting language, because, you know, we had different definitions of you know, even structure had different definitions depending on what, if you were in the aquifer protection overlay, the shoreline protection district, and so some of that stuff didn't get cleaned up during the last, you know, town meeting, but, yeah, there's definitely more work.
Okay. So if you can forward that to Cuddy, and then I will follow up with a phone call and ask her to respond to an email to all of us, answer the questions that were laid out in that.
I'm guessing we're gonna have to meet with her, because this, I think we have a lot of questions that are not gonna, even if she just addresses what's written here.
Okay, so you wanna just have, I'll forward that, and we can ask her to come in the next.
I think we need to talk about it, I really do. That's my opinion. If you don't agree, that's okay, you know, but I just think the issue is important, and it just opens it up to so much headaches down the road. That's
So-
what I foresee.
So let's put on next week's, the 2 weeks agenda.
Okay.
We'll see, hopefully she can make it, and we'll invite the HTC to come in.
I think because we have members of the HDC that are complaining parties on this, I think the select board needs to take a look at it.
I think we need to take a
So
look
you
at
wanna
it.
meet with her?
With her, if she can't come that night, we'll have to do another time. I don't want an assistant, I don't want a paralegal, I wanna speak with her. Because it was her opinion that led us down this trail, and I think that, I know I was not happy with that opinion, because I don't agree with it. By the same token, maybe collectively, but we'll meet with her and discuss it, we'll have a better picture of direction to go in.
Would you want an extra meeting next week when we don't have our Monday meeting? Town hall's closed on Monday, like, if we could set something up. The other issue is we have the bids for the water sampling coming in on Friday. I don't know if you wanna meet, because that's a little bit of an urgent situation to get someone started. If you wanted to meet about that, just to open bids, and then if you could set something up to meet with her then, maybe not, or not a meeting, or whatever you call it.
You'd have to have a non-public meeting because you're getting advice from council.
Well, non-meeting. Yeah.
What I think we have to, right, however the legal noticing is for a meeting with an attorney in non-public, so I don't care, what RSA we go through to get there, but it should be for us first,
Okay.
and then we go from there.
And what I'll do is tomorrow at the planning board meeting, I'll ask the planning board if there's any, you know, knowing that we're gonna be having that conversation, if there's any language in any of the areas that they think would be pertinent to that conversation, I can have them forward to you, Susan, and ask you to forward it to the attorney prior to the meeting.
And that's not to say that a subsequent meeting may still occur with the planning board representatives and the board of selectmen. According, that may have to happen anyway, and HDC for non-participating abutters, that type of thing. I just, there's something about this that really,
No matter which way this goes, it's gonna be unhappy.
Yeah.
someone's gonna be unhappy.
Yep, I agree.
One of the lawyers will be happy.
Well, the lawyers from the, so next week, if we were to meet Monday morning to go over the
I was talking more.
Non-meeting and do the, accept the bids.
Yeah, well, the town hall's closed Monday and I wasn't going to be here, but. if you
Oh, you're
want-
right. Yeah, it is a holiday. It is a
So,
holiday.
we could do Tuesday morning if I could set it up with you guys then. I don't know how you feel about that.
what's your schedule look like, Chris? I mean, I don't mind coming back in at night if you need, or late afternoon.
Till November 9th, it's
It's pretty busy, yeah.
I'm
So
not
we're
here.
talking next Tuesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, just not to skip all the way to the next, because you wanna get them opened.
The stormwater has to be done next week. That has to be done next week, correct?
Stormwater, oh, you mean the water sampling?
Yes.
Well, yeah, because our schedule for starting the sampling is like the 14th, which isn't probably gonna happen, but we're trying to stick to the schedule of that Sanborn had sent to DES.
What about Friday afternoon of this week?
Out of town.
Okay.
And so
I'm
maybe on
working
next
Friday.
Friday, if you're looking at next Tuesday, I can be available.
We can try for morning. I mean, as long as you guys, for that, all we need is you guys, and then if I can also piggyback the lawyer meeting, I can try to do that.
Tuesday or Wednesday, I can be available in the morning.
Okay, so opening the bids on the water is not critical. I think you should be here from a lawyer, but the bids, if we were to do that Tuesday morning.
Just to get them open and, you know, if you need someone to look at them or whatever.
Right.
So can you do Tuesday morning?
I can do Tuesday morning.
All right, why don't we plan on like 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning?
Okay. And I will talk to
I
Honey.
can give you a call if you're gonna be available by phone. You can touch base.
Yeah.
Go over it.
Are you not around Tuesday?
He's off next week again. He's disappearing down in the
Yeah.
kid. I'm gonna take those keys
All right,
away.
all right.
Richard will be back.
Richard will be
All right.
back.
All right, so we'll do 9 o'clock next Tuesday for non-meeting with council and opening the bids.
Well, we may not have a non-meeting with council.
If they can, yeah.
I'll
But we're gonna
contact
open
him.
the bids, and that's in public. Is that correct, Susan?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
gotta
that's a
be
public
public.
version.
All right.
Oh, sorry, Kevin, I didn't mean to. See, where's that?
Then, okay, so with that, we got a correspondence from DES. And did anyone have a chance to look at that?
I'm not gonna be here the morning of the 11th,
Oh,
because I'm going overnight for Monday.
oh, okay.
I'm not coming back until Tuesday
You
afternoon.
wanna do it Wednesday morning?
It'll have to be Wednesday.
Somebody else is off, then, aren't they, huh?
Don't you go down that road, because you know who's gonna lose, don't you? I can't do Wednesday morning either. I got a doctor's appointment. You can open those things out without me. Actually, if you do Tuesday, you only have the 3.
Okay, but if we meet with the lawyer, you probably wanna.
I
do
wanna
it.
be there for that.
That doesn't have to be at the same time, I was just, Tuesday afternoon, no, or?
I could come back Tuesday afternoon, 3 o'clock-ish.
Is Tuesday afternoon good for everyone else instead of Tuesday morning?
Does that work for you, Chris, Tuesday afternoon?
If we change that to Tuesday afternoon at 3?
Yeah, I can probably make 3 work on Tuesday.
All right, Tuesday at 3.
I definitely can't go any later than
I'm
that.
happy, man.
It shouldn't take long, the bids will be easy.
Yeah.
Bids are not, I don't,
But the lawyer, you're gonna have to
That's
set
the one.
aside half an hour at least, so.
All right.
it's Tuesday the 11th.
I think that's the only problem with what we're doing, we just need to get it done.
Well, there's some concerning things if you look at some of the bullet points in the back.
Yeah.
There was one resident in particular who didn't have HEOS readings. He wasn't below the standards. He chose to put in his own filtration system. The state is asking us to now pick up the cost for that.
For the maintenance of it.
And then there's, there's additional property that they want us to deliver water to. There's some questions here that I have that this board should have as well. I think we need to have a meeting with Rich being the health officer, Sanborn head, and this board to discuss some of these things.
Yeah, I think some of them are incredibly serious. I mean, I can tell you, if I was one of the people, even if I was on the threshold of qualifying for a point of entry system, I would be banging on this door every day, because even though, yeah, I can't, well, so if I can't drink the water, I'd still have concerns about even bathing in it, regular use of children that have infants and stuff like that.
No,
But I know there's something that put in their own system because they felt that was in their best interest, and I don't know, I think, anyone that was eligible for it obviously should be offered the point of entry system. I mean, they're dealing with contaminants that are no fault of theirs.
well, that's the question. Whose fault is it? So I think we should have a meeting, as soon as Rich can figure out what he's available, I think, but we need to have a meeting with Sanborn Head. So I would defer this to the chair when he comes back, that he can pick a time that we can meet with Sanborn Head.
So hold off until Rich is back and have him.
Yeah. Pick a time where we could, but we need to discuss this because there's some issues here.
There's also a clarification of who can apply for one of the free systems through the state, but then we have to maintain.
Yeah.
We might not have to pay for the systems themselves.
And this has nothing to do with retesting everything that was tested before.
No, they're okay with the retesting. They're okay. They approved all that stuff. They had additional concerns about these, and these are the ones that are.
That's another thing that's just gonna
And
get.
it's, some of those addresses are gonna be substantial.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. You might have municipal water a lot sooner than you think, but that's big money.
I don't know how all of that.
I don't think so.
Motion for approval of minutes from September 26th.
Public and non-public, I'm so moved.
With the amendment of the date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the right date on it.
The correct date.
So motion second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chuck? Okay, so, 3 yes and 1 abstain. Do we,
Count those up, I mean, don't you go here.
I don't have any non-public, does anyone else have anything non-public? With that, that'll conclude tonight's meetings. There won't be a meeting next week because of the holiday,